Welcome back. This summer, communities across Denendeh are celebrating what they call their version of the signing of Treaty 11 and using the 100-year anniversary as a time of reflection and connection. Our reporter Charlotte Moore Jacobs brings us to Toledo for the final part of that series.
For Paul Andrew, this is Sakon, his home. 100 years ago, Satu Dene negotiated on behalf of families like Andrew's.
As Dene, we have treaty rights that covers our medical and also our education. So which means that our elder signed a good deal for us.
In 1921, Treaty 11 was signed in Toledo, Northwest Territories.
100 years ago,
Andrew says elders wanted to know why the Canadian government pushed a complete treaty.
One of the treaty party members was the bishop, Bishop Bryant. They said they asked the bishop, since he's a man of God, he can't lie. We'll ask him, see what he says. So they asked the bishop, and the bishop said, yeah, they're here to take care of you, they're here to live with you, and you'll always live your life the way you have been.
But that was a broken promise. What the Dene thought they had signed and what the colonial government had penned were in stark contrast. Soon, a territorial government was formed to handle oil exploration without consent from Indigenous groups.
When I was chief in the early 70s, for example, somebody would walk into my office and says, a bulldozer ran over my trap line. They said, what is going on? I said, I don't know. Somebody somewhere is issuing permits that we didn't know about. And there's a whole bunch of, not only here, but other communities were beginning to talk about those kind of things.
All her statues like that, she has her feet like that.
Now, the community has blended Western influences with their own customs. In her 43 years here, Sister Celeste says she's seen Dene resiliency.
I often say they knew Jesus before Christianity introduced them. They had a connection, like especially with the land. And that's their spirituality, I think, is so connected with the land and with nature that they knew there had to be a creator.
As per tradition, the 100th year anniversary brings people together in cultural fun.
People are so happy around when you're there, like they show. I mean, you show off. You make yourself proud. I just can't imagine right now, since back 100 years ago, I did like Treaty 11 playing hand games, and you see it right now.
While it's a complex history, today celebrations are in honor of the Dene's version of Treaty 11 signing.
I'm celebrating Dene resilience, Dene brilliance, the amazing people. That's what I'm celebrating. They were thinking about us 100 years later when they came up with the deal.
Charlotte Moore Jacobs, APTN National News, Toledo.
Dozens of First Nations children died or went missing after being transported to a Quebec hospital in the 60s and 70s. Last week, we saw how this legacy has affected the Atikamekw Nation. This week, Sylvia Ambrose visits the Innu community of Pagwashibu, where 10 children since the 1960s were flown to the hospital and never came back. Tom Fenario translated and reads this story.
Mary
Lalo can't find the words to express her pain. Rather, she put her sadness into fabricating these baby moccasins for the son that she lost. Lalo is not the only one to have lost a child after entrusting him to Quebec's healthcare system. Recently, the Atikamekw Nation hosted this healing gathering for First Nation families who lost a child after they were transported to a distant hospital. Under these circumstances, about 200 First Nations children are unaccounted for from the late 50s to the 70s. Lalo wanted to attend this gathering, but her remote community of Pagwashibu is over 1,000 kilometers away, near the most eastern edge of Quebec. So she sent her daughter Therese instead, along with the baby moccasins that she made, Therese was 3 years old when her little brother Robert was flown to the Blanc-Sablon hospital. She remembers there was an empty cradle. This was back in June of 1972. The only way to leave Pakwashubu is by boat or plane. So Robert was flown the 110 kilometers to Blanc-Sablon when he caught pneumonia. He was a year and a half old, and they never saw him again. He's not the only one to have gone missing in Pakwashubu. There are 9 other similar stories here in this tiny community of about 300 people. The details occasionally vary, but they have one thing in common. A child or infant is taken far away to hospital, apparently dies, but no body is ever seen by the families.
1964.
For 57 years, Jerome Mistanapio and Agnes Mistanapio have been married. In August of 1972, Agnes gave birth to a girl in a traditional tent. One week after her daughter's birth, a nurse came to see Miss Thanapio in order to examine the newborn. Ms. Thanapio says she had confidence in the nurse, who she saw as an authority figure. Ms. Thanapio says the nurse spoke harshly during her visit. She suspects the nurse was not happy that she gave birth without the nurse's assistance. 3 months after the newborn was taken, Ms. Thanapio was told that her baby had died. For the second child that Ms. Thanapio lost, she was brought to Blanc-Sablon to give birth, where she says she was heavily medicated during labor. Sophie was the name given to the baby upon birth by the hospital staff. Ever since then, Ms. Thanapio has been asking herself several questions.
In
2017, the National MMIWG inquiry shed a light on many stories like Ms. Thanapio's. Without a death certificate or proof of burial, many are left asking if their child died, or were they adopted into non-Indigenous families. Dead or alive, the families here all want their missing children found. The government of Quebec is looking to help with Bill 79. The bill will make access to medical documents easier and puts onus on Quebec to assist with requests the families may have. For now, the question for many here is deceptively simple. Bill 79 will be put into force in September, and the search will begin anew shortly thereafter. Because for the families here, without proof of death, doubt will forever persist in their minds. What if my child is still alive? A story by Sylvie Amboise, APTN National News, Pakwashubu, Quebec.
All right, we need to take one final break. Still to come, we'll go to Edmonton to learn about a grandmother and grandson hand drum duo. Welcome back. Chubby Cree is a unique hand drum duo based in Edmonton, and one performer has been playing for 9 years, and he's only 11 years old. APTN's Chris Stewart sat down with the grandmother and grandson to find out more.
Noah Green has a powerful voice for only being 11. He began singing before he was 1 and performing at 2. His grandmother, Carol Powder, helped him develop his talents early.
He's a traditional dancer, he's a singer, drummer, he's a teacher. We taught some kids at daycare, and that little boy was dancing by the time we left. Yeah, he was into it, eh? And so he can go a long ways.
For 6 years, the duo have played as Chubby Cree at powwows, rallies for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and for the environment. They played in front of thousands at an Edmonton rally featuring teen environmentalist Greta Thunberg, a moment Noah won't forget.
When I started Rocky World, I was like thinking of to see how they will react to the song, and right after I sang I said Rocky World, and then like a lot of people just started cheering and stuff. They cops holding them back.
APTN asked Noah for his favorite song to perform.
Rocky World.
Why?
Because when I start singing it, I at the end there's like a big, you have it's a roar at the end, and a lot of people cheer for that. Come on everyone, get up and dance, don't be shy tonight.
Carol says she is raising her kids and grandkids, and they also have the gift of performing, including the youngest.
She's 8 months old, she's patting the sides and singing already, and she's dancing when we sing, right? So yeah, we have a whole drum group at home that we're going to bring out someday really soon, just to surprise everyone that you can do this, you can do it.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
I know I was smiling watching that, as I'm sure you at home were as well. That's a great story for us to end this weekend edition of APTN National News on. I'm Daryl Stranger. Have a great weekend.